All right. So welcome, everyone. This is our Recruiting Overcoming Objections Zoom. So Katie Lemaire and I are going to be chatting it up tonight with you guys. So we just wanted to do a tiny little intro of ourselves, and then we'll kind of jump into talking and then do some fun like Q&A stuff at the end. So for those of you I haven't met yet, I am Leah Zetterholm. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I've been doing this for 9 years. I started out as a consultant. It took me about a year to promote to team leader, and then took me, 5 years, I think, to promote to senior team leader. And then in about a year, I went from senior team leader to director. So executive, senior executive, and then director. So anyway, I have 3 kids. We homeschool. We live the crazy life. They are 9, 7, and 4. So, and we just started school last week. So, and then Katie, all you.
Okay. I'm Katie Lemaire. I joined Usborne in April of last year. So I've been about a little bit over a year. I promoted to team leader in September of last year. So September 1st, 2000, whatever. Sorry. last September. And anyway, so I live in White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico. My husband's in the Air Force, so we are currently living in New Mexico and should be here for at least another year. And then who knows? We have 2 kids, Chloe and Noelle. They're 7 and 3. And I also homeschool. This is my 2nd year. I started today. So I'm a little fried. So I'm really excited to have this chance to hang out with you guys.
So we're talking about recruiting objections. So this is specifically talking about when you are having those conversations with people about joining the business. So just a few things before we get started. I would say that it's not at all about convincing anybody. That's never our job. That it's always their decision whether or not they do this or not. But if you watched that recruiting magnet video, she talks about how we can offer this business as something like coffee. I know how good coffee is. I know that I love coffee. And I'm going to offer it to everyone who comes into my home. But if somebody says, no, thank you, I don't get all bent out of shape, as my mom always would tell me, don't get bent out of shape, or upset about it. And it doesn't mean that the next person who comes to my house, I'm not going to offer them coffee. It's just that you just say, okay, that's fine, and you move on. But you know how good coffee is, and you know that it's a wonderful thing, so it's a beautiful thing to be able to share. And one thing, as we're recruiting, the more confident you are in your belief that this is a good thing and that this could be an amazing opportunity for them, that will come across to them. If you're kind of like, well, if you want to, but you don't have to. But if we're confident in how we approach it and just say, this has been an amazing thing for my family. And I will say, if you are new, you may not have that experience yet just because you haven't gotten there yet. But talk to your team leader so that you have some firsthand experience. And so you can say, my team leader has been able to pay her mortgage, or has been able to pay for dance lessons, and has been able to have, 20 parties in a month, or whatever it is. That talk to them about their business experience so that you can share her story until you have your own to share. And it won't be long before you have your own if you don't already. And then Katie was going to share one other analogy that we.
Oh yeah, whenever I was at convention. Yeah. Okay, just a second. At convention, I saw Vicki Finan and Sarah Duke's speech about making yourself a CEO, and Vicki cracked me up because she had this really awesome analogy, and she was saying, like, say for example, you and your friend love Applebee's. And like you find out that Applebee's has this like really awesome new green bean dish, and you eat it and you love it, but like you don't mention anything to your friend about it because, she might not, I don't know if she's going to be interested in this or whatever. And then she goes to Applebee's and she tries the green beans And she's like, why didn't you tell me about how amazing these green beans were? You know, and she's like, well, I just didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to pressure you. And she's like, I love green beans, you know? So it was just one of those things that it just made me laugh. I mean, hers was way better than that. But just to say, like, you never know, like, it's almost like if you, kind of like what Leah was saying, if for you, it's been such a great experience, it's like if I have to shift my own mindset, because I always worry about, you know, being pushy and being too, you know, persistent. But just to offer that and just say, like Leah was saying, if it's not for you, that's fine. But at least offer it, because, you know, they might be looking for it and you just don't know, you know. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, don't prejudge, because so often that's what I already do. I already have played out the whole conversation in my head, even though it hasn't actually happened yet. So just ask. It can't hurt. There is some amazing wording that we have. I just wanted to point you to resources. So if you don't know already, we do these Zooms every Monday. We try to keep everything to Monday if we can. And so our Zooms are the first through third Mondays at 8:30. On the fourth Monday, we have our Chill and Chat Facebook training, and it's at 2:00 in the afternoon. But every Monday night at 9 p.m., we host a Peek Inside event. So if you did not attend a Peek Inside event before you joined, it is something that we are offering every Monday night. It is just a 30-minute event that you can invite a potential recruit to just learn more about the business. And the beautiful thing is that if they're sort of on the fence, if you have had some of those conversations with them about the business, it's a wonderful resource to be able to say, hey, here's just a little bit more information. Would you like an invitation? You would invite them to the event, add them to the event, welcome them with a little graphic, and then we have team leaders who answer the questions on there. So you don't even need to be there. And we actually ask that you don't answer questions so that we can make sure that the team leaders are doing that and they're not getting, you know, double timed answering getting the same answer 2 or 3 times from 2 or 3 different people. But use that to your advantage. As you have Facebook parties, you can even offer an extra point if they want an invitation to the Peek Inside event. Don't use it exclusively. I will say, if you have a party on a Tuesday night, don't just say, do you want an invitation to my Peek Inside next Monday? And then don't follow up with them for the next 6 days. Have those conversations, or maybe you don't offer it to them until you've had several of those conversations. But do use that as an amazing tool, because it's a lot of information and it gives them a really good overview of what Usborne can offer them. The other thing is, for you as a resource, if you don't already know, we have albums on our team page. And they all have cover graphics that are hashtag recruiting, hashtag whatever, but there is a specific recruiting folder that has tons of videos. We'll go through and share a couple of the resources with you tonight, but use that, watch those videos. Most of them are just less than 10 minutes. So stick those in throughout the day this week. And one of the best things I've ever done is actually write down somebody else's words and memorize it, and be able to use those words until you can make them your own. When I first joined, I shadowed one of my upline, Jill Cox, who was with us last week, and I literally wrote down everything that she said and memorized it, and then just regurgitated it until I could figure out exactly how to make it sound a little bit more like me. But people won't know, and if you find good words, it can be a really good resource for you. So, what else, Katie?
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback on that. Like I don't want to come across, I don't know. I'm very blue and I have a hard time with that. So one thing that I've found is helpful is I do a into the party survey where I ask people if they're interested, you know, like to fill it out. So I feel like that's a way to kind of open the door to a potential recruit without having to bombard all your guests. You know, I have a recruiting post in my party, and then in the after party survey, you know, it's like, would you like more information? Would you like, and you know, often I've gotten information from them, you know, like that they're interested. And then one thing I've been recently trying to do, and Jordan helped me out with that too, is the is really just offering that to every hostess. And it just, the more I practice offering it to a hostess who's like an easy person to approach, the more confident I feel in approaching other people, you know, because it's like, even if they say no, it's kind of like a safe space, I feel, you know. And so the more I hear no, the more, you know, the less difficult it is to hear, in my opinion.
Yes. And often your hostesses make your best consultants. So make sure that you are offering that to every single hostess.
Yeah.
So, and I will say, sometimes it's just a numbers game. Just the more people that you offer it to, the more people you talk to, the more parties you're having, the more people you'll recruit. It's just, if you have one party a month, you can't expect to have 6 recruits, you know, it doesn't ever happen that way.
Right.
So if you have 20 parties, then chances are good you could get 6. So we wanted to just go over some common objections with you that people talk about. And sorry, I'm trying to find the document. And just kind of talk through them with you as things that you will probably encounter. So, before I go to that, though, I just wanted to say that if you haven't already, in that recruiting file, we have what it means to be a good sponsor. So don't be overwhelmed by the thought of having a new team member. First of all, it is your team leader's job to train that person. Your job is just to be a cheerleader. So your job is sort of the go-between when you first start. You can read through that graphic, but your job is just to help that person and to cheerlead them. But your team leader can do a lot of the work in helping them and training them. So that's not your job. We also have that Launchpad page, which is a fabulous resource. The Consultant Success Plan, if you haven't used that, is another amazing resource. So don't feel like it's just you. We are all independent business owners. They're starting their own business. They're not your employee or anything like that. So you were just the one who shared the opportunity with them. So anyway, can anybody have like a response that you have heard when you offer the business? What are some of the things that people say? You can type it in the chat. You can unmute yourself. Anybody heard anything good lately?
The one I hear the most often is that they're too busy or they have too much on their plate or, you know, that kind of thing. I have a lot of personal experience that I like to throw in about that, but
yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah, I wasn't busy.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Shalene says that she's not a salesperson. That's what she hears from a lot of people. I'm not a salesperson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in talking about I already work full time or I'm so busy, one thing that I always tell people is that it takes up as little or as much time as you want it to take up in your life. So it does not have to be a full-time job. If you want it to be a full-time job, you can definitely make it that. And it can be a career level income, but it can take up all those little bits of time that you have. You can fit it into those little tiny bits of time in your day. And as a consultant, I always like to talk about that there are no minimums, but there are no maximums either. So you can do as little or as much as you want. We want to just share the opportunity that it can be something amazing, not just like share the bare minimum with them, but do reassure them that there aren't minimums as a consultant.
Yeah, that's always one of my things, because I feel like a lot of other, direct sales, you have to have a certain sales quota. And that was a big selling point for me. Was I was nervous about that. And I was like, well, if I don't have to meet any kind of requirements, then I can totally do it. And maybe I'll do a thing here and there. And, so it definitely helped open my eyes to it.
Yes. And the beauty is that a lot of our business is done in the evening. So if you do have a full-time job, you can do it in the evenings and around your family schedule or early in the mornings. And then obviously share personal experience. I'm a homeschool mom and my husband is self-employed. So he works a lot and on contract work. So it's, feast or famine. And so in some of the famine times, I work a lot more and when he doesn't have as much work. And so it can be that balance. Every month I do the top 10 teams in my downline and share those. And I was just amazed that this past month in particular, I think 5 of them all have at least part-time, if not full-time jobs of the 10 that were on that list. So it's not something that's just for those who don't have a full-time job, who stay at home. It can fit anywhere into your life.
And to respond to I'm not a salesperson. Like, I am certainly not a salesperson. And I always was interested in direct sales or in doing something from home. And I never could feel, nothing ever spoke to me. Like, I used to work at the Gap when I was in college, and I always got called because they're like, well, you need to ask, you need to be more salesy. You need to, and I was like, I just want to fold the jeans and go about my business, so when I believe that our product, I'm sorry, I can't think straight. I'm really passionate about our product. I think that I can speak about books and not come across as salesy, because it really is something that I want to share with people. I want them to, that was my thing, is it's like, I'm going to have a few parties and I'll invite my friends and I really can talk about these books and share it with them. And I just want them to buy these books, and I know they would love them. And I think that is key. And I think a lot of people who come to our parties are already going to have that, what do you call it? Like that predisposition to like books, so you can speak to that. And, a lot of book people are introverts. And so they don't necessarily want to be salesy, but they found their niche. They found their people, you know what I mean? So it makes it easier to sell the books when I believe in them and I know about them, and I can't speak to eyeliner. I can't speak to skincare, no offense, but I can speak about books. And I feel like that's something you can relay to a potential recruit, is it's like, you don't have to be a salesperson. They sell themselves. All you have to do is present the opportunity.
Well, and can I say something too?
Yeah.
Thank you. The response that I like to give is...
Yes, go ahead. You may speak.
Trying not to cut in too much, but the response that I like to give is fantastic. The nice thing about our books is you don't have to sell them. People just walk up to them, see how amazing they are, and they want to buy them. That's one of the reasons I joined Usborne, is because I saw how easily they sold themselves. First of all, they're books, and anybody who truly loves books is just going to love them because they're books. But then they can see, if they deal with books very much, they can see how exceptional they are. We hear that from people all the time. They really sell themselves. So I just tell them, if they say, oh, good, I love to sell, great, then you're going to have fun selling these. But usually you don't hear that. But that's how I am. No, that's how I am. I always wanted to offer a product to somebody. Like I don't like sales for sales. I like to offer value to somebody and to help them feel happy about something that they're walking away from, that I help them find the perfect book, the perfect choice for their children, or you see their child's eyes light up. Yeah. That's the best. And so, yeah, that's what I tell them, whether they say, yes, I love sales, I love direct sales is usually what they would say. But if they say I'm not a salesperson, then I just say, great, you don't have to be. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I'm done.
No, it's great. And it comes back to, like, you're just sharing. You're not convincing, whether it's the business opportunity or it's the book itself. Our job is to share and to offer that opportunity. And just like coffee or the great bean dish at Applebee's, whatever it might be, like, you just share because it's amazing and it's just an overflow, of what you like. If you come across some great deal at some store, I tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or like for us homeschool moms, like the newest, best, like chair, pencil sharpener.
Laminating machine. Like, yes. Got that today.
Yes. So, Julie, I'm not good with technology, or it is outside my comfort zone to do something like a Facebook party or a booth. I will say, I think I posted about it, but I have grown so much since being a leader in this company, and pretty much everything was outside of my comfort zone when I started.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe boiling water, that was like in my comfort zone, but that's about it. And so I think that so many times that what we want is outside of our comfort zone. That has nothing to do with Usborne. Like, whatever we want, it's usually outside of our comfort zone. There's so many parts of parenting that are like way outside of my comfort zone, but we go there because we know it's good and because we know it's worth it. And so just sharing that opportunity with them, and just say you can take it bit by bit. I always encourage people to start with one thing and become a master at that. So if it's Facebook parties, which is what is often the easiest, or home parties, start with that. Become really good at that. It takes 6, 8, 10, 12 times of doing the same thing in a pretty short period of time, in a couple months, to really feel comfortable doing that thing. The technology thing, Julie, can be a little more difficult. It is. A lot of our businesses on Facebook, a lot of our team stuff is, but there are still opportunities. They're their own business owner. They can run their business however they want to run it. And one of the things that attracted me to Usborne was that we have other avenues. We have book fairs.
Yeah, that's true.
We have Literacy for a Lifetime and matching grants and readathons and some of those opportunities, so that we can offer our books in many different ways. And so you find your niche within that.
Yeah. And I was going to say, another convention workshop that I went to, the woman was, the speaker was talking about her love of home parties and how she really feels like she's like an older woman that kind of started when, there was no Facebook. So she missed that connection with people. And so she was trying to figure out a way, and she does Zoom parties now more than anything, kind of like what we're doing here. But it just shows you that she was saying that she moved to this place in like Colorado or something, where there was no internet access at her house. So every night that she had a party, she would drive to McDonald's at 9 p.m. and she would get herself some fries and a shake and like sit there at McDonald's and use their Wi-Fi. And she was like, I can't do this. She's like, the times when it was great, it was awesome. But the times it was like a dud party, I was like, I drove all the way to McDonald's at 9 o'clock and no one showed up at my party. So she tried to find a way to, find her passion, which is outside of, like Facebook. So I think, like Leah's saying, there's all kinds of ways. I mean, I know that Facebook is the majority of it right now, but I really believe that is going to be shifting before too long. That there's going to be maybe a shift back towards reconnecting on a personal level or something with all of the changing algorithms. So I don't think, I think there's ways to work around if you don't have a Facebook page or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I do think it's already shifting back toward just making that personal connection. You can't replace that.
Right.
Whether it's on Facebook or it's not on Facebook. So any other specific ones that you've come across or that you've dealt with before? We've got a few ideas, but if you have one specifically, we're happy to talk about it.
Honestly, what I hear the most is, no thanks, I'm not interested.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute. The flow charts that are in the recruiting. Yes. Oh, look, Katie printed it out, and I would suggest doing the same thing. Print out these flow charts. They're in the recruiting album, but it talks about when somebody says like, no, I'm not interested, you can just ask something like, can I ask why? And then usually they'll tell you exactly why. I don't like blah, 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 or I don't want this, or, but I don't think that it's too pushy to ask why. I think it opens up a door for you and just to understand them a little bit better. So you don't need to be nasty about it, but just like, can I ask why? And then you want to read some of the responses, Katie, on that flow chart?
Sure. So someone says, one is like, my family is not supportive, that, and you can just say, you won't be the first or the last to join with a hesitant husband. I'm happy to chat with him too and answer his questions. Or my family grew a lot more supportive when they saw how much I love it and how much money I made. So that's a good, I know that. Isn't that funny? Okay. Or, I don't have a big social network. I've heard that one too. It's like, oh, I don't have that many Facebook friends, or I don't have, kind of going back to what we talked about. There's tons of trainings, and it only takes a couple parties to get outside of your friends and family circle. That's a good point, because I hear that a lot. It's like, well, I feel like once I ask my like best friends and my family, I'm not going to have anybody else. And I always say it only takes one booking off of like a friend to get the ball rolling, you know, to a whole new circle of friends. Because you can't just rely on we all know that. You can't just rely on your circle of friends and family to sustain your business. You have to branch out, however that might be. So another one is, I can't afford to buy the kit. Great reason to earn extra income as soon as possible. Or offer, you know, ask for, do you have a special occasion coming up? Ask for your kit as a gift. Or you can earn your kit back in just 30 days. So those are good as well. And then the other one is just, I'm so busy, kind of like we were talking about before. And then she asks one more question. So after you give that reason, she says, does knowing that help you to feel comfortable trying this business on for size? And if they say no again, well, then you say, oh, well, thank you. You know, I understand. And I'll be here if you have any questions. And then, but they may say, I'm not sure. And then that kind of opens the door a little bit more to, you know, keep you posted on anything that's happening, or, you know, send you some more information, which is a good point.
Yeah. So if you haven't already checked out some of those flowcharts, they really are helpful in finding those words. I'm trying to think of some other objections that I've come across. The paying for the kit is a big one. And I always offer, you know, we can do your kickoff party, and a $300 party gets you enough for that $75 kit. And we can use your commission for that kit. And the half kit refund and the full kit refund are on top of the commission. So you will definitely pay back your investment and more. And the Usborne really does work hard. They're a very family-friendly business. They don't want you to have to buy a $500 kit. That they purposely make those kits at a price point where you can start your own business for very inexpensively. So $75. Yes. Coming from a family, on my husband's side of the family, they're all entrepreneurs. So $75 is dirt cheap for starting.
I like this objection that they mentioned in that PowerPoint is, we just don't need the money. Like, has anybody ever heard that as an objection?
I have heard it from people more as like they would rather, yeah.
They don't need it. I hear what you're saying. Okay. Like they don't need it in their lives. Yeah. Right.
But I think that some people join for all different reasons, and some people just need a night out. That
was me. I mean, and it's just funny that wouldn't be the first thing that I would say is I don't need the money, but you know, just to say like, I don't need a job, or I'm not looking to have a job. And
they probably don't ever come out and say like, we don't need money.
Oh, we got plenty of money.
Rolling in. I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I
just really don't want it. Can't deal with it. No, and just to say that, like, you know, we all have our own reasons, and like I joined for an outlet, you know, for a personal, you know, something to personally succeed at, since I was a stay-at-home mom, and you know, so, and that has opened up all kind of opportunities for me, like Leah was saying. So yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I love Miranda's comment. I love the flow chart, because the scariest thing about asking is hearing no, but the flow chart has an awesome response to a no. So why not go for it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So anyway, does anybody have any questions about recruiting specifically, or anything else for that matter? Business stuff that's going on this week? Anything? No. Well, thank you guys for being here. Next week is our booking talk. So we will